Hansel wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the mining equipment one more time. The asteroid mining station was quiet today. Most of the crew was working deep in the tunnels, pulling precious metals from the rock. He liked these quiet moments when he could think and work without the constant noise of the drills. The mining station sat on a large asteroid called Kepler 442b. It was far from Earth, far from anywhere really. Hansel had been working here for 3 years now. He fixed the machines when they broke and made sure everything ran smoothly. It was not exciting work, but it paid well and he liked the peace. His radio crackled to life. "Hansel, come in." It was HFY from the control room. "I'm here," he replied, picking up the small device. "We're getting some strange readings from Sector 7. Can you go check it out?" Hansel looked toward the outer edge of the station. Sector 7 was near the docking bay where supply ships came in. "What kind of readings?" "Energy spikes. Might be a damaged power cell or something." "Just take a look. On my way," Hansel said. He put down his tools and walked through the metal corridors of the station. The walls hummed with the sound of air recyclers and power generators. Outside the small windows, he could see the black of space and distant stars. When he reached Sector 7, everything looked normal at first. The docking bay was empty except for some supply crates. Then he noticed something strange near the outer airlock. There was a faint blue glow coming from behind a stack of metal boxes. Hansel moved closer, being careful. Strange energy readings could mean danger. As he walked around the boxes, he stopped and stared. There was a person lying on the floor, but this was not a human person. The figure was tall and thin with pale blue skin. She wore strange armor that looked like it was made from black metal and crystal. Her hair was long and white, almost glowing in the dim light. Next to her was a sword unlike anything Hansel had ever seen. The blade seemed to be made of pure energy, crackling with blue and white light. Hansel knelt down beside the alien woman. She was breathing, but it was shallow and weak. There was no blood that he could see, but her armor was cracked in several places. She looked hurt. He had heard stories about aliens like this. The crew called them Vulcans. They were warriors who lived somewhere in the outer systems. Most humans had never seen one in person. They were supposed to be dangerous fighters who did not like other species very much. But looking at this Vulcan woman lying unconscious on his station floor, Hansel did not see a dangerous warrior. He saw someone who needed help. "Control room, this is Hansel," he said into his radio. "Go ahead," came HFY's voice. "I found the source of those energy readings. There's an injured alien in Sector 7. Looks like a Vulcan." There was silence for a moment. Then HFY spoke again, her voice tense. "A Vulcan? Hansel, those are dangerous. Don't get too close. She's unconscious and hurt. I'm bringing her to the medical bay. Wait, Hansel. We should call this in to the authorities first. Let them handle it." Hansel looked down at the alien woman. Her breathing was getting weaker. "She needs help now. I can't just leave her here." Before HFY could argue, Hansel turned off his radio. He carefully lifted the Vulcan woman in his arms. She was surprisingly light despite her height. Her armor felt warm against his hands, and he could feel a faint vibration coming from it. The energy sword lay where she had fallen. Hansel wanted to bring it with her, but something told him not to touch it. The weapon pulsed with its own light, and the air around it seemed to shimmer with heat. He carried the alien woman through the corridors to the medical bay. A few crew members saw him and stared with wide eyes. Word would spread quickly through the station that they had a Vulcan aboard. The medical bay was small but well equipped. Hansel placed the woman on the examination table and began checking the medical scanner. The device beeped and showed readings he did not understand. Her body temperature was lower than human normal, and her heart beat in a different rhythm. As he worked, Hansel wondered how she had gotten aboard their station. There had been no ships detected in the area. Maybe she had been fighting somewhere nearby and somehow ended up here. The stories said Vulcans were always fighting someone. The woman's eyes suddenly opened. They were bright silver, like mirrors, and they fixed on Hansel immediately. She tried to sit up but fell back down with a soft groan. "Easy," Hansel said gently. "You're hurt. You're safe here." The Vulcan woman stared at him with those strange silver eyes. When she spoke, her voice was clear but had an accent Hansel had never heard before. You are human," she said, as if this was surprising. "Yes, my name is Hansel. You're on a mining station. You were unconscious in our docking bay." The woman tried to sit up again, this time more slowly. "Where is my blade?" "Your sword?" It's where I found you. I didn't want to touch it. You did not take it? Her silver eyes showed confusion. Why would I take it? It belongs to you. The Velkan woman studied his face for a long moment. I am Nari of the 3rd Battle Group. You say I am safe here? Yes, this is a peaceful mining station. We don't have weapons or soldiers, just workers. Nari looked around the medical bay, taking in the simple equipment and clean white walls. Humans, she said quietly, shaking her head. I have heard you are weak creatures who dig in rocks and run from fights. Hansel continued checking the medical scanner. We're miners, yes. And most of us would rather talk than fight. Is that weak? All species know humans avoid battle. You have no warriors, no strength. Maybe, Hansel said. But we help people who need help. Even strangers. Nari watched him work on the medical equipment. Her expression was hard to read. Why do you help me? Your kind fears mine. You needed help. That's enough reason for me. I could kill you easily once I recover my strength. Hansel looked at her calmly. You could, but you won't. How do you know this? Because if you were the type to hurt someone who helped you, you would have said something different when you woke up. Nari was quiet for several minutes. The medical scanner beeped softly as it worked. Finally, she spoke again. I must have my blade back. It is not safe to be separated from it. When you're feeling better, I'll take you to it. No, Nari said firmly. Now, a warrior's blade must not be left alone. It is dangerous to others and to me. Hansel saw the worry in her silver eyes. Whatever this blade meant to her people, it was important. All right, but you should rest a bit more first. Human, Nari said, and her voice was different now, less hard. What is your name again? Hansel, Hansel, she repeated slowly. Why do you trust me? He thought about this for a moment. Everyone deserves a chance to prove they're worth trusting. Nari stared at him with those mirror-bright eyes. Something in her expression had changed, though Hansel could not say exactly what. Outside the medical bay, he could hear the normal sounds of the mining station continuing its work. Neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness would soon change everything they thought they knew about humans and Velkans. The energy blade waiting in Sector 7 held secrets that would shake the foundations of the galaxy itself. Nari sat on the edge of the medical table, her silver eyes fixed on the door. She had been trying to stand for the past hour, but her legs were still weak. Hansel had brought her food and water, but she barely touched them. All she could think about was her blade. I must go to my weapon, she said for the 10th time. You do not understand. It is not safe. Hansel looked up from the medical scanner where he was reading her vital signs. What do you mean, not safe? It's just sitting there. It is not just sitting there, Nari said, frustration clear in her voice. A Velkan blade is alive. It bonds with its warrior. When we are apart too long, the blade becomes angry. Angry? Hansel set down the scanner. It's a weapon. How can it be angry? Nari tried to find words to explain something that was as natural to her as breathing. Your people make tools from dead metal. Our blades are different. They have spirit, energy, life. When a blade chooses a warrior, they become connected. If the connection is broken by distance or time, the blade's energy becomes wild and dangerous. Hansel thought about the pulsing light he had seen around the sword. The way the air seemed to shimmer near it. What happens if it gets too wild? It could explode. Or it could seek its warrior by burning through everything in its path. Nari's voice was quiet but serious. I have been separated from my blade for hours now. This is already too long. Why didn't you tell me this before? I thought you would return it quickly. I did not expect you to keep me locked away. You're not locked away, Hansel said. You're hurt. I'm trying to help you get better. I do not need to get better. I need my blade. Nari stood up slowly, using the table for support. Take me to it now, or I will find it myself. Hansel could see she was serious. Her silver eyes had a hard look that reminded him she was a warrior, even if she was injured. All right, but let me check on it first. If it's as dangerous as you say, I want to make sure it's safe for the other crew members. No. Nari moved faster than Hansel expected, grabbing his arm. You cannot touch it. Only I can handle my blade safely. Then come with me. But slowly. You're still weak. Nari nodded and released his arm. They left the medical bay together, walking through the station corridors. Other crew members stared as they passed. Some backed away when they saw Nari. Word had spread that there was a Velkan warrior aboard. When they reached Sector 7, Hansel immediately saw that something had changed. The energy sword was brighter now, pulsing faster. The blue and white light seemed angry, just as Nari had said. The metal boxes near it had scorch marks that had not been there before. It is getting worse, Nari said, moving toward the weapon. But she stopped after a few steps, swaying on her feet. You're too weak, Hansel said. Let me help. I told you you cannot touch it. No one but a Velkin can. Then tell me what to do. How can I help you get closer to it safely? Nari looked at him with surprise. You would risk helping me even though it is dangerous? Yes, she stared at him for a long moment. I do not understand you, human. Your people are supposed to be cowards. Maybe we just pick different things to be brave about. Nari seemed to consider this. The blade pulsed brighter and she winced as if in pain. The connection grows weak. I must reach it soon. Hansel studied the weapon. The air around it was definitely getting hotter. He could feel it from several feet away. What happens if someone else touches it? Death, instant death. The blade's energy will burn through any living thing that is not Velkin. Has anyone ever survived touching a Velkin blade? Never. Not in all our history. The energy is too pure, too hot. Only Velkin skin can withstand it, and only when the blade knows us. Hansel nodded and walked toward the weapon. No. Nari shouted, but her voice was weak. Hansel, stop! It will kill you. He paused just out of reach of the sword. The heat was intense now, like standing too close to a fire. The blade itself was beautiful and terrible, crackling with energy that seemed alive. He could understand why Nari called it a living thing. If I don't help, what happens? He asked without turning around. I will eventually reach it, but the delay may cause it to explode first. And if it explodes? Nari's voice was barely a whisper. It would destroy this section of your station. Maybe more. Hansel thought about Jihai in the control room, about Minho and all the other crew members working in the tunnels below, about the families back on Earth who depended on the minerals they mined here. Tell me exactly what I need to do, he said. You cannot. The blade will kill you the moment you touch it. Maybe, but if I don't try, it might kill everyone. Hansel looked back at her. Tell me how to pick it up safely. Nari's silver eyes were wide with shock. There is no safe way for you, only death. Then tell me the fastest way to get it to you. Hansel, please. Do not do this thing. Find another way. There is no other way. You're too weak to reach it, and it's getting more dangerous every minute. He turned back to the blade. I'm going to try. No. Nari tried to move toward him but stumbled and fell to her knees. Please, human. Your death will not help anyone. Hansel reached toward the weapon. The heat was incredible now, like reaching into an oven. The energy field around the blade made his skin tingle and burn before he even touched it. Hansel, stop. Nari's voice cracked with desperation. His fingers were inches from the handle when he felt the first real burn. The energy licked at his hand like invisible flames. Every instinct told him to pull back, to save himself. Instead, he reached further. The moment his skin made contact with the blade's handle, pain exploded through his entire body. It was like grabbing a white-hot piece of metal with his bare hand. The energy burned through his skin instantly, and he could smell his own flesh cooking. But he did not let go. Nari screamed as she watched the energy field engulf Hansel's hand and arm. The power that should have killed him in an instant instead seemed to fight him, burning and clawing at his flesh. Somehow, impossibly, he remained standing. Hansel's vision went white with pain, but he could still see the blade in his grip. He turned step by agonizing step toward where Nari knelt on the floor. Each movement sent new waves of burning agony through his body. Impossible, Nari whispered, staring at him with wide silver eyes. This is impossible. Hansel took another step toward her, the blade burning his hand worse with each passing second. He had never felt pain like this in his life. It was as if his entire arm was being destroyed from the inside out. But he kept moving. How? Nari asked, her voice filled with awe and terror. How are you still alive? Hansel could not answer. Speaking required breath, and all his breath was being used to keep from screaming. He took another step, then another. The blade seemed to fight him harder now, as if it was angry that he had not died immediately. Finally, he reached Nari and held out the weapon toward her. His hand was completely covered in burns, the skin blackened and blistered. But he was alive, and he was offering her the blade. Nari stared at him for a moment that seemed to last forever. Then, with shaking hands, she reached out and took the weapon from him. The moment the blade touched her fingers, its angry energy calmed. The wild pulsing stopped, and the weapon settled into a gentle blue glow. But Nari was not looking at her blade. She was looking at Hansel. You should be dead, she whispered. Hansel finally allowed himself to collapse to his knees, cradling his burned hand against his chest. The pain was still incredible, but it was nothing compared to what he had felt while holding the blade. Yeah, he managed to say through gritted teeth. I probably should be. Hansel sat on the floor of Sector 7, his burned hand pressed against his chest. The pain was still terrible, but at least he was no longer holding the blade. Nari knelt beside him, her weapon now calm and glowing softly in her grip. Let me see your hand, she said quietly. Hansel slowly extended his arm. The burns covered his entire hand and went halfway up his forearm. The skin was black and red, blistered and raw. It looked like he had stuck his arm into a fire and held it there. Nari stared at the damage with wide silver eyes. This should have killed you instantly. No living thing can touch a Velkan blade and survive. The energy burns from the inside out. It destroys the very spark of life. Well, Hansel said, trying to smile despite the pain. I guess I'm too stubborn to die that easily. This is not about being stubborn. This is impossible. Nari looked from his burned hand to his face. What are you, human? What are your people? We're miners and traders and farmers. Nothing special. Nothing special. Nari's voice rose. You touched a bonded blade and lived. In all the history of my people, this has never happened. Not once. Hansel's radio crackled. Hansel, come in. We're getting massive energy spikes from your location. Is everything all right? He picked up the radio with his good hand. Everything's fine, Jihai. The energy readings should be back to normal now. What was causing them? Hansel looked at Nari, who shook her head quickly. Just some interference from the mining equipment. I fixed it. Copy that. Do you need anything? Maybe send Minho with a medical kit to Sector 7. Are you hurt? Just a small burn. Nothing serious. After he turned off the radio, Nari stared at him. Why did you not tell them the truth? Because they would panic, and they would probably try to separate us again. You should get medical treatment for that burn. I will, but first I want to understand what just happened. Hansel leaned back against a supply crate. You said your blade bonds with you. What does that mean exactly? Nari looked down at her weapon. The blade hummed softly and the energy field around it was gentle now, like a warm breeze. When a young Velkan is ready to become a warrior, they must find a blade that will accept them. The blades are ancient, made from crystals that came from the first ones. First ones? The beings who ruled the galaxy long ago, before any of our current species existed. They left behind only ruins in these crystals. When a blade accepts a warrior, it shares its energy with them. The warrior becomes stronger, faster, able to fight with power beyond normal flesh. And no one else can touch these blades? No one. We have tested this many times throughout our history. Every other species dies instantly when they touch an active blade. The energy is too pure for alien life to withstand. Hansel looked at his burned hand. But I didn't die. No, you did not die. And that is impossible. Minho arrived with the medical kit. He was a small, nervous man who handled the station's administration. When he saw Nari and her glowing blade, he stopped in the doorway. Is that safe? He asked, pointing at the weapon. It's fine now, Hansel said. Can you help me bandage this burn? Minho approached carefully, keeping his eyes on Nari. How did you burn yourself? Touch something hot. Minho began cleaning and bandaging the burn. His hands shook slightly as he worked. This is a serious injury, Hansel. You should see a real doctor. I'll be fine. While Minho worked, Nari watched quietly. When he was finished and had left, she spoke again. You should not have risked yourself for me. Why not? Because I am your enemy. All humans are enemies of the Velkan people. Hansel looked at her in surprise.
Why? What did we ever do to you?
You exist in our space. You take resources that could be ours. You are weak but numerous, like parasites. Is that what you really think? Nari was quiet for a moment. It is what I was taught to think. And now? Now I do not know what to think. You risked your life to help someone you had never met. You endured pain that should have killed you. This is not the behavior of a parasite. Hansel's radio crackled again. This time it was a different voice, one he did not recognize. The signal was weak and full of static. Unknown human vessel, this is Captain Tae-Jin of the Velkan 3rd Battle Group. We have detected our missing warrior in your area. Prepare to surrender her immediately. Hansel and Nari looked at each other. Your people are coming, he said. Yes, and they will not be as patient as I am. How long do we have? If they are close enough to send a message, they will be here within hours. Han Sol thought about this. The mining station had no weapons and no military training. If the Velkans wanted to fight, it would be a massacre. Will they attack us? If they think you have captured me, yes. Captain Taijin is not known for his patience with other species. Then we need to make sure they know you're here by choice. Nari shook her head. They will not believe that a human helped a Velkan. They will think you are lying or trying to trick them. Why would we trick them? Because that is what the weak do when they face the strong. They lie and scheme and try to find ways to win without fighting. Han Sol stood up slowly, cradling his bandaged hand. Maybe some people do that. But not everyone. The radio crackled again. Human vessel, you have 1 hour to respond. After that, we will board your station and take our warrior by force. Nari stood as well, her blade in her hand. I should contact them. Tell them I'm safe. Will that be enough? I do not know. Captain Taijin is suspicious of all aliens. He may think you have forced me to say this. Then what do you suggest? Nari looked at Han Sol's bandaged hand, then at her blade. I suggest you stay far away when they arrive. If they see what you did, what you survived, they will think you are something dangerous. Why would that be bad? Because my people fear very few things in the galaxy. If they think you are one of those things, they may decide to destroy your entire station to be safe. Han Sol thought about this. He could hide in the mining tunnels while Nari met with her people. It would be the safe thing to do. The smart thing to do. But if he hid, the Velkans might think the humans were planning something. They might attack anyway. And even if they did not attack, they would leave thinking that humans were cowards who ran from conflict. No, he said finally. I'll be there when they arrive. That is foolish. Maybe. But if I hide, your captain will think we're afraid of him. That might make him more likely to attack. And if he sees you, he might attack anyway. Then at least he'll know that humans don't run from fights when something important is at stake. Nari stared at him with those bright silver eyes. What is at stake here, Han Sol? Why do you care what my people think of yours? Han Sol looked around the docking bay, thinking of all the crew members working in the station above and below them. Because someday humans and Velkans are going to meet again. When that happens, I want your people to remember that the first human they really got to know was willing to get burned to help one of them. Even if it cost you your life? Even then, Nari was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. You are the strangest creature I have ever met. Han Sol of the humans. I'll take that as a compliment. Outside the station, 3 Velkan warships dropped out of hyperspace and began moving toward the asteroid. On the lead ship, Captain Taijin studied the readings and frowned. The human mining station looked peaceful enough, but he had learned never to trust appearances when dealing with aliens. Ready all weapons, he ordered, and prepare a boarding party. We're going to get our warrior back. The alarm klaxons echoed through the mining station as 3 Velkan warships appeared on the long-range sensors. In the control room, Ji-Hai stared at the displays with growing fear. The alien vessels were massive, sleek predators built for war, not the small traders and supply ships that normally visited their peaceful station. Minho, get on the emergency channel, she ordered. Send out a distress call to any Earth ships in the area. Minho's fingers flew over the communications panel. The nearest Earth patrol is 6 hours away. We're on our own. What about the defense grid? We don't have a defense grid. This is a mining station, not a military base. Ji-Hai cursed under her breath. Like most civilian stations, they relied on their remote location and peaceful reputation for protection. They had never expected to face real warships. In Sector 7, Han Sol and Nari watched the approaching ships through a small viewport. The Velkan vessels moved with deadly grace, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. 3 ships, Nari observed. Captain Taijin is taking no chances. How many warriors are on each ship? Perhaps 50 on each vessel. All of them trained for battle since childhood. Han Sol did quick math in his head. 150 alien warriors against 43 human miners. Your captain really doesn't trust us. He does not trust anyone who is not Velkan. Taijin has fought in many wars. He has seen what other species do when they think they have an advantage. The lead warship moved closer to the station. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like a work of art designed for destruction. Energy weapons glowed along its hull, and Han Sol could see smaller fighter craft moving around it like angry insects. Attention, human mining station, came a new voice over the radio. The signal was clear and strong now. This is Captain Tae-jin of the Velkin 3rd Battle Group. You will allow us to board immediately and surrender our captured warrior. Han Sol picked up the radio. Captain Tae-jin, this is Han Sol. Your warrior is not captured. She's a guest on our station and is free to leave whenever she chooses. There was a long pause. Then Tae-jin's voice came back, cold and suspicious. Human, you will not speak for a Velkin warrior. Put her on this channel immediately. Nari took the radio from Han Sol. Captain, this is Nari of the 3rd Battle Group. I am unharmed and here by my own choice. Nari? What is your status? Are you under duress? No, Captain. I was injured in the fight with the Zephyr Raiders. I crashed near the station and the humans found me. They have provided medical care and asked for nothing in return. Another pause. That does not sound like human behavior. They must want something. I thought the same thing, Captain. But I have been here for many hours, and they have not asked for payment or trade agreements or anything else. They helped me simply because I needed help. Impossible. No species acts without seeking advantage. Han Sol took the radio back. Captain Tae-jin, you're welcome to come aboard and see for yourself. We have nothing to hide. Human, you are either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. 20 minutes later, a Velkin shuttle docked with the mining station. Through the airlock came 4 of the most intimidating beings Han Sol had ever seen. They were all tall and pale like Nari, but these warriors moved with deadly precision. Their armor was polished black metal, and each carried weapons that hummed with contained energy. Captain Tae-jin was easy to identify. He was taller than the others and wore more ornate armor. His silver eyes swept the docking bay like a predator looking for threats. Behind him came 3 other warriors, Dong-hyun, Soo-jin, and Woo-jin. All of them kept their hands near their weapons. Where is Nari? Tae-jin demanded. Here, Captain, Nari said, stepping out from behind a supply crate. She moved carefully, still weak from her injuries, but she stood straight and proud. Tae-jin looked her over quickly, checking for signs of harm or restraint. You are truly here by choice? Yes. And these humans have not tried to interrogate you or steal your equipment? No. They returned my blade to me when I asked for it. This seemed to surprise Tae-jin more than anything else. They handled your blade? Nari glanced at Han Sol. One of them did. Impossible. They would be dead. That is what I thought as well. Tae-jin turned his cold gaze on Han Sol. Human, show me your hands. Han Sol held up both hands. The left was normal, but the right was heavily bandaged from fingertips to elbow. You touched a Velkin blade? Yes. And you survived? Obviously. Tae-jin stared at the bandaged hand with growing unease. Show me the wound. Han Sol looked at Nari, who nodded slightly. He began unwrapping the bandages. The other Velkin warriors watched with intense interest. When the bandages came off, the burns were visible in all their horrible detail. The skin was blackened and blistered, clearly damaged by intense energy. But Han Sol was alive and conscious, using the hand despite the obvious pain. Dong-hyun, one of the warriors, stepped back involuntarily. That burn pattern, that is from blade fire. Yes, Nari said quietly. But he lives, Soo-jin whispered. Yes. Woo-jin, the youngest of the warriors, looked at Han Sol with something approaching fear. How is this possible? I don't know, Han Sol admitted. Your warrior said it should have killed me, but it didn't. Tae-jin moved closer, studying the burns with the eye of someone who had seen many weapons wounds. This damage is consistent with direct contact with an active blade. The energy signature is unmistakable. Captain, Nari said, there is something else. When he touched the blade, it fought him harder than I have ever seen a weapon fight. The energy was wild, angry. But he endured it. He held on until he could return the blade to me. Why? Tae-jin asked, looking at Han Sol. Why risk death for an alien warrior? Because it was the right thing to do. That is not an answer. What did you hope to gain? Nothing. I just wanted to help. Tae-jin studied Han Sol's face, looking for signs of deception. No one helps without expecting something in return. What do you want from us?
I want you to leave my people alone.
We're not warriors or conquerors. We're just miners trying to make a living. And you think that saving one Velkin will make us ignore your entire species? I think that showing kindness is better than showing fear. The Velkin captain was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the other warriors shifted nervously. Han Sol could sense their unease, though he did not understand it. Captain, Dong-hyun said quietly, We should leave. Now. Why? Taejin asked. Because this is not natural. Humans should not be able to touch our blades. If they can do this, what else can they do? Sujin nodded. Perhaps they are more dangerous than we thought. Or perhaps, Woojin added, his voice tight with fear, they are something we should not anger. Taejin looked at his warriors with surprise. These were seasoned fighters who had faced many enemies without fear. But something about Hansol's survival had shaken them deeply. Nari, he said, gather your equipment. We are leaving. Captain, these humans mean no harm. Now, warrior. Nari looked at Hansol apologetically. I must obey. I understand. As Nari collected her gear, Taejin continued to stare at Hansol's burned hand. Human, I do not know what you are or how you survived touching that blade. But I will be watching your species more carefully from now on. We'll be here if you want to talk, Hansol said. Talk? Taejin seemed amused by the idea. Warriors do not talk with their prey, maybe not. But friends do. The Velkin captain's expression hardened. We are not friends, human. Do not mistake one act of mercy for alliance. As the Velkin warriors prepared to leave, Hansol felt a growing sense that something important was about to happen. The way the alien warriors looked at him had changed. Where before they had seen a weak human miner, now they saw something that frightened them. And Hansol was beginning to realize that their fear might be far more dangerous than their anger had ever been. Captain Taejin watched as his warriors prepared to escort Nari back to their ship. Something felt wrong, though he could not name what it was. The human Hansol stood quietly nearby, his burned hand hanging at his side, showing no fear despite being surrounded by armed Velkin warriors. Captain, Nari said as she checked her equipment, I would like to properly return this human's kindness before we leave. What do you mean? He saved my life and asked for nothing in return. Among our people, this would create a debt of honor. Taejin's silver eyes narrowed. Humans do not understand honor. They are not capable of it. This one seems different. They are all the same, weak creatures who survive through tricks and numbers. But even as he said this, Taejin's gaze drifted to Hansol's bandaged hand. The burns were real. The energy signature was unmistakable. Somehow this weak human had touched an active Velkin blade and lived. It should have been impossible. Nari finished her preparations and turned to face Hansol. I owe you a great debt, she said formally. If you ever have need of me, send word to the 3rd battle group. I will answer. Thank you, Hansol replied. But I don't think that will be necessary. I hope your injuries heal quickly. This simple response seemed to surprise all the Velkins. Sujin whispered to Donghyun. He asks for nothing? Not even protection for his station? Perhaps he is planning something, Donghyun whispered back. But Woojin, the youngest warrior, shook his head. Look at his face. He means what he says. He truly expects nothing. Captain Taejin heard these whispered conversations and felt his unease growing. This human was not behaving like any alien he had ever encountered. Where was the fear? The pleading for mercy? The desperate attempts to negotiate? Human, Taejin said suddenly. Before we leave, I want to see you touch the blade one more time. Hansol looked surprised. Why? Because I do not fully believe what I am seeing. Perhaps there was some trick, some technology that protected you. There was no trick, then prove it. Nari stepped forward. Captain, that is not necessary. He has already. I will decide what is necessary. Taejin cut her off. If this human can truly touch a Velkin blade and survive, I want to see it with my own eyes. Hansol looked at the assembled warriors, then at Nari's weapon. The blade hummed softly in her grip, its energy field calm and controlled, but he remembered the agony of touching it before, the feeling of his flesh burning from the inside out. If that's what it takes to convince you we're not a threat, he said quietly. Hansol, no, Nari said urgently. The blade is fully bonded with me now. It will be even more dangerous than before. I'll be careful. You do not understand. When a blade is properly bonded, its energy is at full strength. What you survived before was nothing compared to this. But Hansol was already moving toward her. The other Velkin warriors stepped back instinctively, their hands moving to their own weapons. They had all heard stories of what happened when unbonded beings touched an active blade. The deaths were supposed to be instantaneous and terrible. This is madness, Donghyun muttered. He will die, Sujin said with certainty. Good, Woojin replied, but his voice was tight with fear. Then we will know he is just another weak alien. Hansol stopped in front of Nari. May I? She looked into his eyes and saw no fear there, only determination. Why are you doing this? Because they need to know what humans are capable of. If I don't show them, they'll always wonder. They'll always be suspicious. And if you die, then at least they'll know we're not hiding anything. Nari slowly extended her blade toward him. The weapon's energy field pulsed brighter as it sensed an alien presence approaching. The air around the blade began to shimmer with heat. Last chance to reconsider, she whispered. Hansol reached out with his good hand. The moment his fingers came within inches of the blade, the energy field erupted. Power crackled through the air like lightning, and the temperature in the docking bay spiked dramatically. The Velkan warriors stumbled backward as waves of heat washed over them. This was more energy than they had ever seen from a bonded blade. It was as if the weapon was screaming in rage at the approaching alien touch. Impossible, Taejin breathed. The energy levels. They're off the scale. Hansol's hand entered the energy field and immediately his skin began to burn, but he did not pull back. The power that should have killed him instantly instead seemed to flow around him, through him, burning his flesh but somehow unable to destroy the core of his life. By the first ones, Dong-hyun whispered. He's not dying. The energy grew brighter, more violent. Hansol's hand was being consumed by power that could have melted steel, but still he lived. His face was tight with pain, but his eyes remained clear and focused. Sujin's weapon fell from nerveless fingers. This cannot be happening. The legends, Woojin said, his voice barely audible. The old stories about the first ones. They said the ancient masters could touch pure energy and survive. Captain Taejin stared in growing horror as Hansol's hand closed around the blade's handle. The weapon's energy field exploded outward like a star going nova. Power that should have vaporized every living thing in the room instead seemed to dance around the human, burning him terribly but unable to claim his life. First ones, Taejin whispered. He is one of the first ones. That's impossible, Dong-hyun said, but his voice shook with fear. The first ones vanished millions of years ago. Then what is he? Sujin demanded. How else could he survive this? Hansol held the blade for 10 seconds that felt like an eternity. Then, with careful precision, he placed it back in Nari's hands. The energy field immediately calmed, but the damage to his hand was catastrophic. The burns covered his entire arm now, worse than before, but he was alive. Against every law of physics and biology that the Velkans knew, he was alive. The 4 Velkan warriors stared at him in absolute terror. These were beings who had conquered star systems, who had never known defeat in battle. But faced with a human who could touch their most sacred weapons and survive, they were paralyzed with primal fear. First ones, Taejin said again, and his voice was that of a child confronting a nightmare. The humans are the children of the first ones. We have to leave, Dong-hyun said suddenly. Now, before they wake up, Hansol asked, confused by their reaction. But the warriors were no longer listening. Sujin had already dropped her weapon and was running toward the airlock. Woojin followed, his eyes wide with terror. Even Dong-hyun, a veteran of 100 battles, backed away from Hansol as if he were a dangerous animal. Wait, Hansol called after them. I don't understand. What are you afraid of? Captain Taejin was the last to leave. He stared at Hansol with a mixture of awe and terror that chilled the human to his bones. We thought you were prey, he said quietly. We thought your species was weak and helpless. But you are not weak. You are sleeping gods and we nearly woke you. I'm not a god. I'm just a miner. No, Taejin shook his head. You are something far more dangerous than a god. You are proof that the first ones never truly left the galaxy. The captain turned and ran for the airlock, leaving only Nari behind. She looked at Hansol with an expression he could not read. Are they right? She asked. Are humans truly the children of the first ones? I don't know, Hansol admitted. I don't even know who the first ones were. They were the masters of the galaxy before any of our current species existed. They built wonders beyond imagination and wielded power that could reshape stars. Then they vanished, leaving only ruins and legends. And you think humans are related to them? Your survival proves it. Only beings touched by first one power could endure what you just endured. Nari looked at her blade, then back at Hansol. My people will spread word of this throughout the galaxy. Every species will learn that humans are not the weak miners they appear to be. Is that good or bad? I do not know. Some will worship you as returning gods. Others will try to destroy you before you remember your true power. She paused at the airlock. But none will ever underestimate humanity again. After the Velkans left, Han Solo stood alone in the empty docking bay, cradling his twice-burned hand. Through the viewports, he could see the 3 warships accelerating away from the station at maximum speed. Jihai's voice crackled over the radio. Han Solo, what happened? The alien ships are leaving at full burn. I think, Han Solo said slowly. I accidentally started something much bigger than we expected. What do you mean? Han Solo looked at his burned hand, thinking about the terror in the warrior's eyes and the legends of the first ones. Somewhere in the galaxy, word was already spreading that humanity was far more than it appeared to be. I mean, we're not going to be able to hide in the outer systems much longer. Everyone's going to want to meet us now. Is that good? Han Solo thought about Captain Taejin's words about sleeping gods and ancient powers. He thought about species that might worship humans as returning deities, and others that might try to destroy them out of fear. Ask me again in a few years, he said, when we find out what we really are.